You were listening to the Mark Petroni radio program, heard exclusively on News Talk Saga 960.
And we are back with more News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us on this midweek edition of the Mark Petroni Show. We have Miles Kristen on the line coming to us from Wisconsin. Miles likes to check in periodically to tell us what's going on, not only in Wisconsin, but across the United States, either politically or, as is the case lately, in terms of crime. A lot going on in the area around Madison. Is that correct, Miles?
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of crime in Wisconsin in general.
What's going on? I mean, what are we talking? Like gun crime? Is this gang warfare? Is this drug related? Is this turf war? Or is it just the sense that people are really unhappy with what's going on in America right now?
All of the above. There was an incident. There were 3 incidences that happened earlier this month, right outside the Milwaukee Bucks arena. And one night, there were 3 separate shootings. One of them, this shooting led to 17 bystanders being shot. Luckily, I believe no one was killed, but it was something like a shooting at the 9 o'clock hour, another shooting at the 10 o'clock hour, and then a third shooting, even though all the cops were already downtown, this other shooting broke out, and that's where, 17 people got shot. You've been having an extreme increase in crime in Madison over the last few years. It's gone from cars being stolen to now people being carjacked. You have this issue that, they don't deal with crime properly in Chicago, and a lot of criminals from Chicago come up here. I mean, there are a lot of great people that come up to Wisconsin from Illinois, from Chicago, and start a great life up here and contribute a lot to this state. And there's also a lot of the criminals that they're trying to get away from come up here and create a lot of crime. And, cities like Milwaukee and Madison are giving people a slap on the wrist, whether it's the Antifa person who assaulted the state senator, or, these people stealing cars. And there's been a lot of crime all throughout Wisconsin lately.
What about gas prices and just the overall fact that inflation is eating into people's pocketbooks, less money to spend? And of course, if you're trying to make ends meet, a lot of people are going to get desperate. I've made that case that some of the crime is economically driven. Other people think, no, this is all gangs. This is turf war. What do you think? Is it a case where maybe life being more difficult has pushed people to the brink of turning to crime?
Well, I mean, it's several factors. In 2020, we allowed people to basically riot. And I mean, the primary thing they destroyed is places like Madison were, immigrant-owned restaurants. And, you say that people can get away with committing crime, and then we haven't seen the riots of 2020, anything like we saw in 2020, but people, they got away with that kind of crime. And so what's other crime? And the gas prices here in the Madison area are anywhere from $4.30 to $4.70, depending on what part of the county you're in. And that cost of oil affects people in different ways. And and we still have this issue of people not working. I mean, working's a part of life, and the vast majority of everybody who, unless they're, have some sort of physical ailment that prevents them, everybody should have some sort of employment. I mean, at least in the, age pool of people who should be working. And we have so many people not working at all. Everybody's hiring. And it's crazy too, because 4 or 5 years ago, they were talking about, the unions and the labor people were talking about $15 minimum wage. Well, now they got it. I mean, and some employers are paying as much as $17 starting wage or even more, and they can't find people to work. And it's it's just a crazy economic situation
So
right
people
down here.
is it a case where people are lazy? They just
That
think
is
that they can get.
that is a it is a big factor that people are lazy, and some people look at it that they can get away with committing crime and take their chances committing crime, knowing that even if they get busted, what's going to really happen? Versus, oh, you can uh, work for a fast food establishment or a gas station making 15, 16, 17 bucks an hour. I mean, granted, a job is the much smarter way to go, but criminals who will make stupid decisions, I mean, that's what we're dealing with right now.
Interesting when you look at as bad as Wisconsin is getting. I mean, it's nothing next to Chicago. 52 shot, 10 of them fatally over the Memorial Day weekend. 52
Oh yeah,
people.
I mean,
that's
it's
wow.
at some point in the last 2 decades, there have been times when more people are being shot in Chicago, people are being killed in Chicago than the war in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. I mean, Americans really need to look at that. That's an epidemic. The outrage in this country, first they're going after Dave Chappelle, now they're going after Ricky Gervais. And I was just saying yesterday that, the most serious issues in America are the opioid addiction, homelessness, the fact that we have 22 veterans killing themselves every single day, obesity. I mean, we've got serious issues in this country, and we're upset about things that comedians say. I mean, the oil companies are making record profits off of ripping us off right now, and people are upset about Netflix or Elon Musk. I mean, the people who try to run this show at least do a great job of controlling our outrage and where it's directed.
Yeah, I mean, you've painted kind of a grim picture of the state of the United States right now, heading into the midterms. Still hearing that the Democrats are in big trouble. What are you hearing in Wisconsin?
I was actually out last week doing a little bit of petitioning work for somebody so they could be on the ballot. You have to collect 2,000 signatures in the state of Wisconsin so you can be on the ballot. And young people are apathetic more than ever. And the issue was a very interesting social experiment, really, because the issue people were most talking about, or a big demographic was, where did the candidate stand on abortion? Where did the candidate stand on guns? And actually, it was an office that actually has nothing to do with policies, legislative wise, and so forth. And so people completely, a lot of people lost interest as soon as I explained that to them, that it wasn't about those issues. I do think that if Roe versus Wade is overturned, that's gonna. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the voting numbers standpoint, not even having any perspective, not having an opinion on it. I'm just saying, if Roe versus Wade is overturned, that's going to equal Democrats possibly keeping the House or Senate or even gaining numbers. If it's not overturned and it turns out that this leak wasn't actually accurate, or that the Supreme Court changed their mind or whatever, if Roe versus Wade isn't overturned, then I would see the Republicans taking back the House and Senate very easily. I mean, people are upset about the inflation. They're upset about the oil, and guns is this issue where we get really upset about it and then we ignore it a few months later, a few weeks later. This Roe versus Wade issue, I mean, I'm just saying from the standpoint of what people are saying out there and so forth, is because you have pro-choice Republicans and you have Democrats who are against abortion, and a lot of Americans are actually somewhat in between, where maybe they agree with it in certain situations or for so many months. And also there's the factor of how much government funding goes to the organizations involved. I mean, it's a complicated issue, and I don't think completely black and white. And I know where there's a lot of gray where people feel it on this issue and so forth. And yes, Roe versus Wade will probably be one of the determining issues. But then again, we're several months out from the election, and who knows what could pop up in the next, you know, 3, 4, 5 months that could change people's opinion on the issue.
Interesting story about migration within the United States, where states like Arizona, Texas, Florida, seeing massive population gains as Democrat cities collapse, and that, of course, is having a huge impact on the tax base available in terms of revenues to these cities and metropolitan areas. Have you noticed any of that? There's a story out that the top 15 cities to experience the greatest population growth are in those states. That was between 2020 and 2021. And we were talking about lockdowns during that period when people were really sick of these blue cities. Texas, again, Arizona, Florida, Idaho, Tennessee are the states in which there are cities seeing enormous amounts of growth. And they're leaving some of these blue cities. Most of the cities.
No, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
We saw this also with the census data, I think a year or two ago. And yeah, the economic issue of like who's going to tax you, like the fact that there's some states that have a state income tax and other states that don't have a state income tax. I think that's a huge factor, as especially to young entrepreneurs who are, aren't married and have kids who can easily move from one state to another. They're going to look to a state where they're not going to be taxed as much. And then also it's like, well, what does your state spend money on? I would also say that, there's, it's trying to kind of drawing a blank on it, but
I can tell you that just running through the cities here, the top 5 largest cities remained the same as in 2020. I'm just reading, although more than half experienced decreases in their population between 2020 and 2021. Those cities included New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, interestingly enough, lost 11,000 people, Philadelphia, and San Diego, Dallas, San Jose, California, and Indianapolis, Indiana.
The point, I just remembered the point I was going to bring up. What's interesting in a place like Madison, Wisconsin, is there's been this massive gentrification of Madison over the last decade, where they're tearing down everything and building these high-rise apartment complexes, but they're the dumbest design possible. They're basically packing, wealthy college kids into these apartments that'll have like 5 rooms to the apartment, and they're paying $900 a piece. They're basically spending over $4,000 a month on these apartments. And then I see that these kids are actually trying to sublease, try to get out of their lease all the time. So the city is building massive amounts of these high-rise, apartments, luxury apartments, and so forth. And then these people don't actually even vote in Wisconsin. A lot of times they then vote back in their own state. So it's a weird sort of gentrification where you're tearing everything down, you're building up all this new stuff, and you think that you would be having like these kids maybe of a different persuasion voting, possibly Republican because they're wealthy from different states that aren't Wisconsin and so forth. But all that's really going on is, on one hand, you're building these high-rise apartments and so forth, and at the same time, Madison's got this massive crime wave going on, and so it's like Madison's turning into this town where you've got wealthy kids who are kind of making stupid economic decisions, and then crime is on the rise, and it's just such a strange mixture. And Madison used to be a much better town, and what it's turned into in the last decade, it's why I got out of it. And I noticed I knew there were going to be riots in Madison a year or two before it happened. I saw it coming. I thought Trump was going to get reelected, and then they were going to riot. And then I got out of Madison in 2019, and then 2020 happened. And I was even telling my friends in 2018, I was saying we should make a mockumentary about how there would be a massive amount of riots. And then when everything's torn down, there would be this great gentrification of developers coming in and buying up all the old storefronts. And that is exactly what is happening in Madison right now. Is you had the riots, killed half the businesses on the central street, which is called State Street. Half the businesses died immediately. Probably another quarter over the last 2 years have died. And now that all the storefronts are empty, the building owners are selling off their buildings to these huge, conglomerates that are ripping down more and more of the city and building. I mean, the rioters were the greatest gentrifiers the city ever saw.
Yeah, they probably were on the payroll. No, that's disaster capitalism. That's what it is. I mean, the people who have shorted currencies and destroyed them, are in the same business. You create the circumstances, you feed into the same types of attitudes and organizations that are violent, and then when the cities are destroyed, people pay the price. They leave. It leaves the infrastructure, like the water, the sewer, all this sort of thing, still in place, and you can get it for 10 cents on the dollar. I got to ask you about, before we go, just Biden's horrific numbers. I don't think I remember numbers this low. There's a report by NBC News. Joe Biden and his White House team in meltdown over Biden's stubbornly low approval ratings. I mean, the guy's it's 35%. Okay, a new Civics poll has Biden at 35% overall and 22% approval by independents. Supposedly, those are the people who make the decision as to who ends up in the White House or not. Biden is underwater, get this, in 47 states. 47.
Oh, yeah. Today, I actually saw a great car. It had one of those bumper stickers. It's pretty common around here. It's like, we believe in science, love is love, no human is, basically a bunch of like soft liberal slogans on this one bumper sticker. And then it was left of it said, and it was a picture of Michelle and Barack Obama, and it said, make America great again. Right, so a couple liberal progressive bumper stickers. To the bottom right, I see this American flag with let's go Brandon. And it's like, okay. And I like the fact that I think people on the left can unite around that slogan too. It's a funny meme. People who got upset about it, it's like, come on, you guys screamed F President Trump for 4 years, and now you're going to be upset that the right is using a slogan, like a meme of the same idea. Come on. But his numbers are horrific.
I've never seen him. I mean, I can remember
Bush's
number during the war.
I compare him.
Yeah.
Compare Biden to, let's say, Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. Okay, Ronald Reagan did have some form of dementia or Alzheimer's or so forth, but still was able to give a speech. Like Biden's cognitive decline is far worse. And then when you think about Jimmy Carter, it's like Jimmy Carter had a gas shortage and was really, really bad for him. And it's like, what's going on right now? And Jimmy Carter, what did he do? He went on to start Habitat for Humanity and take stances that called out both parties. And
he's still alive. Crappy president, but he was still alive. Okay, I got a bail. Sorry, Miles. Sorry, my friend. I will have to continue the discussion some other time. That's it for me. Got to wrap things up. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's do this again real soon. Bye-bye for now.